We got to understand here the educational program that you have to be able to figure out whether it will go on the right lines where the people will end up in a situation where they can be able to really control themselves. You understand what I'm saying? With no education, the people take this local foundation and start stealing money because they won't be really educated to why it's the people's thing anyway. You understand what I'm saying? With no education, you have neo-colonialism instead of colonialism, like you got in Africa 9, like you got in Haiti. So what we're talking about is there has to be educational program. That's very important. As a matter of fact, it's so important for us that a person has to go through 6 weeks of our political education before he can consider himself a member of the party, able to even run down ideology for the party. Why? Because if they don't have an education, then they're nowhere. You dig what I'm saying? They're nowhere because they don't even know why they're doing what they're doing. You might get people caught up in the emotionalist movement. You understand me? You might get them caught up in because they're poor and they want something. And then if they're not educated, they want more. And before you know it, they'll be capitalists. And before you know it, we'll have Negro imperialists.
This educational process is necessary, and it's the people that will cause the revolution, and it's the people that will cause the change in the country. It's simply the vanguard of the revolution, and we plan to teach the people the strategy and the necessary tools to liberate themselves.
As we say we're carrying something out, there has to be something in our mind, a value system, something that changes the condition of our mind, changes our morals. Changes our morals from being an individual to understanding we're a part of a community. We're a part of a collective. We're a part of a commune. With this morality, there should be some confidence, some enthusiasm. There should be a life of discipline, being a disciple to carry these out. This is shown in the new man, the new woman. One that is undergoing that process of being politically, socially, and culturally conscious. They put politics in command of their initiatives. They put those politics, revolutionary politics, in full control of the means of their life. The tenets that we have in these organizations, the rules, the programs, the platforms, it's just not to be put in effect when you put on whatever wardrobe, uniform. It's not like a job where you punch in, and when you punch out, you're done with it. Their social practice is life in itself. It creates life. It is to be carried out when no one's watching. It is to be carried out looking, seeking for no glory. When we look at collective work and responsibility, this is something that has to happen outside of an individualist thought process. This is done regardless of browning points, regardless of the camera, regardless of documentation. When we look furthermore at a revolution, the paradigm change, it is to take out something of your life that has no purpose, has no meaning. It is to completely eliminate it out of your way of thinking, out of your way of doing. Can you be a bad element and still be revolutionary? Can you seek fame and fortune, seek glory, rulership over people, and still be revolutionary? There's a quote that said, if you're looking to be a star in the revolution, revolutionary is not for making stars. So you could go to Hollywood with that. That's where stars are made. When we look at the social practice, it is also something that is about keeping the integrity of yourself, doing what you say and say what you're doing, living it out on a day-to-day basis. Again, it is not something of a Batman or Superman costume. It's not something that only when you're with that group, only when you're with that organization, only when you have the bullhorn, only when you're in the face of that camera, speaking before the people, at the forum, at the rally. This is carried in and day out. The way you think. It's the way you eat. And it is what you believe.
Social practice. Once again, in this modern time, in this modern form of what people call revolution and revolutionary, many ones study a lot, read a lot, know a lot. But the problem we're facing is intellectual counter-revolutionaries. Intellectual masturbation, which leads towards stagnation, which leads towards nothing productive. Where is the social practice? What is the point of learning revolutionary science, having a revolutionary ideology, understanding revolutionary politics, developing a higher revolutionary consciousness, if you are not going to apply what you learn? It's all for nothing. That's counter-revolutionary. Counter-revolutionary. Revolution is to change. If you are not changing anything with what you're learning, then how can you call yourself revolutionary? Why are you even here? What is your purpose? Is it just to obtain information? To have an intellectual war, an antagonist war with somebody else for status? Just so you can feel you're smart or revolutionary? Or are you going to take this information and apply it with social practice? Whatever that you're thinking of, whatever that you study, why won't you apply it? Why won't you try it out? Social practice is everything when it comes to what we study. We study to apply. We don't study just to hold it as a memory bank in our own minds. It must be applied It must be tried on our situation. Social practice is everything.
Reactionary times. When we look at reactionary, and as we know that these are those not always politically enlightened, or either just looking to react, and that reactance that they do usually has a blockage in complete constructive change, and it's sometimes the same thing after the same thing, or a different perspective, but yet still the same thing. And there's a great saying that says, doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results is insanity. So reactionary times, we must also look at it as insanity. We must look at it as the mind of the masses is in a state of psychosis. Reactionary times is the reason why revolutions take place. Reactionary times is the reason why deaf culture lives amongst our communities and has us voluntarily or involuntarily participating into a crash out culture that destroys us, into a culture that either burns us out, into a culture that makes us think what we're doing is something so monumental, but as we participate in it, it's to our detriment. Reactionary times. In this 21st century, when fascism is on the horizon, or some may even say it's already here, the reactionary time that we're living in will have us think that things are getting worse and that they're not worse now. This reactionary time will have those deny political education while claiming revolution. And all in all, just like was stated before, it's insanity. The repetitiveness of something that is only keeping hold of an old guard is not allowing innovation. It doesn't allow complete constructive change. And it doesn't allow group thought to advance. And as group thought doesn't advance, neither will our society. I yield.
Reactionary times is a time when the community hasn't been correctly educated. So like we've said many times, deprived of certain politics and certain ideologies. And so it leads people to react out of emotion rather than a structure, rather than a political identity, rather than having some guidance and some leadership. So like you discussed earlier with the Vanguard Party, it's been critically void in our communities. And I think that, it's our responsibility to bombard, he said, the sleeping masses with the correct approach to the struggle. And that is only done through our participation and through really practice and showing that these changes can be made and they can be impactful, and that we can reach levels where we're more self-determined and self-sustained in our community. And without that, we'll continue to be reactionary. We'll continue to act out of order, so to speak, because we don't have a code of culture. We don't have something that resonates with us that we respect as a mass of people. So the more that we work towards having that unity and having that structure, it'll lessen the propensity for people to be reactionary and for us to get out of reactionary times and into revolutionary times. I'll yield there.
Free the land. Reactionary times during this modern time. During reactionary times, a lot of people will feel education is stupid. A lot of people will feel education is intellectual masturbation. A lot of people will feel it's unnecessary because it doesn't satisfy their reactionary, sensational needs. During a reactionary time, there is no good leadership. The leaders is as worse as their members because they lead their members without education whatsoever. Matter of fact, in reactionary times, once again, education is frowned upon, even amongst their leadership. Reactionary times will have the ones who's actually trying to lead the people in the right direction feel like they're in the world all alone. Feel like what they're doing is wrong. In a world full of people who's reactionary. In a world full of people who don't think, once again, none of that is necessary. Revolutionary principles is not necessary. Revolutionary ideology is flawed in their world. What the ancestors said is flawed in their world. And they got the answer. And they got the answer over George Jackson, over Malcolm X, over Marcus Garvey, over Huey P. Newton, etc., etc. And they feel they have the answer from a reactionary standpoint without no political education. A recipe of death, a recipe of people getting locked up for no reason, a recipe of people wasting time, money, and logistics and not bringing no form of effective revolutionary change in what they do. Living in reactionary times is way different than the 60s and 70s and probably even the 80s. It was not a reactionary time. It was during a time when the ones was extremely educated, doing initiatives, doing them programs, and understanding our struggle as a people to a science. During reactionary times, they don't care about none of that. During reactionary times, ones care about how they look on Facebook or social media, what kind of gun they have, and what type of bluff they can give the oppressor, the fascist state, to make it seem like they have power. They have no power at all. This is reactionary times.